Good evening. Once again, we are going to be blessed by the presence of Jesus, and he will answer questions for you, the group members. We have been talking to him, and as you can see, Connie has tears in her eyes from him being close again. So we are once again looking forward to a very special evening, and tonight is going to be one of those. I thought I would show everybody what the book looks like. This is the advanced copy of it. We should have it available within a week or two. The first books will be available through the website. It's wordsofgodthenandnow.com or spiritspredict.com. You can also order them on Amazon. You can order them on Barnes & Noble. And this is the first of a 3-volume series. The second one is ready to go to the publisher, and in that one we will discuss the messages of the disciples and Jesus. And the third one, we will discuss the teachings of Jesus. So over the next 3 years, you should see about 3 books coming out, all of which are delivering his messages. So, do you have anything you would like to throw in?
You did a great job all by yourself. Good evening, all. Happy to be with you again.
Okay, so with that being said, why don't we get started with our questions, because we have a lot of them. You submitted some very good ones this time, and we will begin the session with Jesus.
Okay, Lord, when we choose to put an animal down so they don't suffer anymore, are we interfering with their path, their life path?
No, animals do not have the same type of life path as humans. They don't have as much control over their lives as a human does, and many things can happen to an animal just the same as many things can happen to a human, but a human is controlled by his ego and by his free will. Animals have free will and hopefully don't have a whole lot of ego. But no, when animals are suffering and they are nearing the end of their lives, there is nothing wrong with ending their suffering.
Thank you. When evil people go to the lower realm, what is that really like?
The lower realm is, as I have said many times, a place of nothingness. The soul is left by itself to contemplate what it has done wrong in its life. Once the soul has determined and confesses in his heart that he has done wrong and returns to putting love for me in his heart, we will allow them to come from that lower level. Once they emerge from that level, they are allowed to reincarnate, and the karmas of their life paths will reflect what they have done to hurt others.
Okay, answered this next question also. Then who created the universe?
The universe was created by a coalition of gods. As you know, each galaxy has its own god, and we joined together and through our combined energies created the universe. There was something before your universe was created. It was similar to what you now see, but in many ways very different. We combined our energies and created the universe that you're now aware of, so that soul energies could advance and prosper on many different planets.
How exactly was it created?
The combined energies of the gods was so great that it is similar to what you think of as your current Big Bang theory. Never underestimate the energy that is available to the gods of the universe.
Okay. If one does turn from evil and starts living a life of love, will the judgment be softened? Will any karma be reduced?
Yes, of course. How you live in your life reflects the forgiveness that I will show you for the mistakes you made in the earlier events of your lifetime. If you realize that what you're doing is not correct and not following my teachings, you are creating a sin against your own soul that will be reflected when you are judged as you come onto the other side. It is always possible to change your life and put my love into your heart. Paul was a perfect example of that. He actually persecuted Christians. But when I came to him and his heart was filled with my love, he was forgiven even though he had performed the most dire of sins. His life from that point forward led so many people to following my words that his forgiveness, he was totally forgiven and sits in the highest level with me in heaven.
Are the 10 Commandments really from you?
Moses was given commandments. He was not given 10, but I gave him 7 different commandments. And yes, they were given to Moses by me, but not as is written in the Gospels. He received a mental message just the same as Barry is receiving my messages now. He scribbled the words that I gave him on stone so that they would not be forgotten.
Why are we having this intense resurgence of anti-Semitism now?
It does appear that there is a resurgence of anti-Semitism. This generally happens when a theology that is not linked to my teachings begins to take over the world. When God is removed from the hearts of individuals, evil enters that heart, and quite often it is aimed at those who profess a love for me. The Jewish religion, while not perfect, does profess an absolute love of God, and those with evil in their hearts do not allow them to live in peace.
Okay. Project Bluebeam is a conspiracy theory that claims that NASA is attempting to implement a New Age religion with the Antichrist as its head and start a new world order via a technologically simulated second coming. Is any of this real?
No, that is not real. But remember that those who preach a new world order do not have my love in their hearts. In order for a one world order to exist, love for me has to be extinguished.
Okay. Will you give us a description of how the creation of a life plan takes place?
Before a soul is allowed to reincarnate, his guides work with him to lay out a life plan that includes events and areas of learning that have to be experienced for that soul to advance in my realms. It is often based on what has taken place in multiple prior lifetimes. Each of you maintain a book of your lives in unused portions of your brain. That book is reviewed, and your guides study and attempt to give you a life plan that will allow for your advancement. Once you are born, you will be guided, but your free will and ego can negate all of the planning that goes into your life plan prior to your incarnate birth.
Okay, got a problem with this. Okay, who all are involved in the creation of a life plan?
A life plan can involve many souls from this side. Generally, it involves your master guide. Sometimes it involves other guides from higher planes. For instance, before you and Connie were allowed to return, many of the Holy Spirits that you have interviewed contributed to your life plan. When the life plan was put together, I reviewed it and agreed that it was proper and that you and Connie would be sent back to carry my words to the many.
Okay. Why do you allow suffering?
Suffering is part of learning. It is part of the whole gamut of human emotions that a soul must go through when it lives an incarnate lifetime. There is good and there is suffering in all lives. It is something that the soul must learn to conquer. There are obviously many different degrees of suffering. Perhaps in a prior life, you have experienced great suffering. And in the next lifetime, in all probability, you will not have to endure as much suffering as you did in that prior life. Suffering is part of a human existence. It is life lessons such as grief, such as pain, such as love. The soul must experience all of those things if it is to advance in the realms of heaven.
Is there only one time of death in a life plan, or are there several exit points?
It is possible to have several points of exit. There will be a final time when your soul must pass into heaven. Perhaps there are intermediate events that can take your life, but in most instances, there is simply a final time of departure.
Okay. This is a little different. When you lived, did you have any hobbies, like being an artist?
When I lived, I did have many interests. The greatest joy that I had in my life was the love that I felt for my parents, my wife, and my children. My children in particular brought me great joy. In those days, there was little time for having what you refer to as a hobby. So I guess you would say that I was not around long enough to devote myself to anything other than the ministries that were dictated in my life plan.
Okay. What is causing the increase in autism?
There are many things that are causing increases in autism. There is much pollution in your air. There are many chemicals in the food that you eat. There are many reasons why autism is growing. If you return to a more natural method of living and eating, you would find that the autism rate would decrease. There is also some minor risk from your vaccinations. In the long run, vaccinations do more good than they do harm. The greatest culprit are the chemicals that all of you are forced to eat in your current environment.
Okay. Can you explain the origin of anti-Semitism?
Anti-Semitism began when the Jewish people worshipped a God that was counter to what the majority of the people around them worshipped. In Roman times, the Jewish people were tolerated, but they were also under much scrutiny. As I spoke earlier, when people lose their faith and love of God, they turn to hatred. And the Jewish people are an easy target for that hatred.
So why does that seem to be growing today?
It is growing today because people are drawing from God at an increasing rate. Fewer and fewer people are attending church on a regular basis. God is being taken from your schools and from your government. As long as secularism is being taught, hatred for religious groups in general and the Jewish religion specifically will continue to grow. The only thing that will stop it is returning to love for me.
What are your comments about climate change?
Pollution does cause climate change. However, your planet has undergone many extremes in changes of climate. Your climate can be affected by natural disasters, and it can be affected by many other natural occurrences. For instance, a meteor strike hit your planet and its effects caused the demise of the dinosaurs. Yes, humans are currently polluting the planet, but its effects will be very long term. Humans should respect Mother Nature. If you want Mother Nature to respect humans, she is quite capable of protecting her planet. I suggest to you that yes, you pursue ending your different pollutants, especially those that are being dumped into your oceans. It is in the long run, it is very important. But pollution will not alter human evolution drastically in the short run.
Okay. What can individuals do to better serve you?
For an individual to better serve me, the first step is to have an undying and total love for me in their hearts. Once you have that love energy in your hearts and you will feel my energies as well. You must talk to others. Try to select those that seem to be undecided. You would refer to them as agnostics. Show them what it is like to love me. Show them how that love that you have in your hearts has affected your life for the better. Speak to those who have doubts. Tell them of the miracle that you watch when you hear my words. Tell them of the miracles that will happen to them once they accept my energies and love. There are many of you out there that feel very strongly about loving God. You will find strength in that love. Always remember that there will be times that you will be disappointed, you'll be rebuffed, you'll be criticized, and people will embarrass you. Just know that you are correct in what you are doing. Your soul will find my grace in heaven. Those that speak against me will find that their time in heaven will be not nearly as pleasurable as yours. Just keep the faith. Keep watching the miracle that is taking place before your eyes, and read my words of my life, my messages, and my teachings. Within several years, you will have complete knowledge of me. Use that knowledge wisely. You will find that your mission will become more simple in the future. Just have faith in me and know that we will win.
Okay. Are you the only path to heaven, or are there many paths?
The path to heaven is showing love for yourself, for me, and for others. If you lead a good life, you are following my commands. It may be that you have never read of my commands, and there are many places on your earth where people have never heard of Jesus. Just know that there are many, many ways to advance in my realms. It is up to you. There is no church that totally speaks my words. It is very simple to advance in the realms of heaven. Show love and receive love. Show kindness and receive kindness. Know that you must love and get along with your neighbors. That does not mean that you should passively accept violence against you. Lead a good life and you will be rewarded.
Okay. Which religion comes the closest to your teachings?
As I said earlier, there is really no single religion that comes close to my true teachings. Sadly, the misinterpretations of the Gospels has become the foundation for many religions. Those religions are preaching what they feel are my true words. If I was to pick a single religion that would be closest, I would choose the religions that are more orthodox. I would pick those religions that use earlier versions of the Gospels as their foundation. Okay.
Okay. How do you define sin?
Sin can be many different things. The Bible defines many things as sin. Some of those acts that are defined as sin were made up by man. To sin is to go against the love of God and my teachings of love. Sin is when you hurt others. If you hurt others intentionally, you are sinning. How bad you hurt others will determine how you are judged. Try to help others. If you show love to others, the odds are that love will be shown to you. Sin can be many, many different things. The taking of of an innocent life is a sin. I have told you many times in my messages that abortion is the taking lives of the innocent. Under any circumstances, the act of taking a life is always and always will be and has been forever a sin.
When you walked the earth, what did you tell the people about sin?
I told them very simply that if you hurt others, you are sinning, that you are to treat others as you want to be treated. As you want to be loved, you should love others. When I walked the earth, I tried to keep my messages very simple. You are now living in a very complex society. There are many more ways to sin today than there were in my day. There are many ways that you can hurt others. For instance, you can use technology to bully others. You are hurting them, and in many instances, the individual being hurt has lasting damage to them. Just know that if you are harming someone else, you are sinning.
Okay. What would you like people to know about life plans?
When people are sent back, they are given a plan of life that, if followed, will certainly fill gaps in emotion and learning that will be required for them to advance in the realms. Also know that ego and free will can totally destroy a life plan. Your guides try to influence your life. If you ignore those influences and draw away from your life plan, it is conceivable that you not only just waste that lifetime, but you can do so much evil that you negate many previous lifetimes that you lived before.
Okay. Who generally assists with putting together a life plan?
Your life plan is put together mainly by your guides, members of your soul family, and possibly your angels. Souls on higher realms of heaven will receive guidance from some of the more holy spirits. But generally, it is your spirit guides that will assist in your life plan.
Okay. How does prior life karma affect the life plan?
Prior life karma can have a very large effect on your life plan. If in your prior life you did much damage to others, you will have to make up for that damage in future life plans. It is possible that you can do so much evil that it will take many life plans in the future to overcome the damage that you have done.
Do you participate in a soul's life plan?
On occasion, I become involved with souls that are on my level in heaven. In general, the ascended souls are sent back for very, very special missions. And in those missions, I do often review the life plans to make sure that they will work towards fulfilling my long-term goals.
Okay. Was John the Baptist the prophet Elijah reincarnated?
Absolutely. I sent Elijah back to prepare the Jewish people for the coming of the Messiah, and he returned as John the Baptist to aid me in the beginning of my missions.
Were you aware of this when you walked the earth?
No, when I walked the earth, I was not aware of it. I knew John was special. I did not, in my conscious state, even though I knew much, I knew John was going to play a very special role, but I did not understand all of the details when I was in my human state.
Okay. What would you like the readers of this new book coming out to know about reincarnation?
I want the readers of this book to understand that reincarnation is the foundation of advancement of the soul. Reincarnation allows your soul to return and to learn and to make up for problems that you may have suffered in prior lives. Reincarnation is the everlasting life. Your soul energy has everlasting life, and if you have lived a lifetime, you will return for others.
Okay. What would you say to individuals that believe the only path to heaven is Christianity?
I would say that individuals that believe Christianity is the only path to heaven are very much in error. As we spoke earlier, there are many paths and many religions that result in individuals living lifetimes of love and service.
Okay. What is your message for those that practice shamanism?
For those that practice shamanism, that is just simply one of the many paths. What is important, as I keep saying, is your love and your love for others and how you live your life.
Okay. What is your message for individuals that practice paganism based on a reverence for nature?
That is fine. Generally, that reverence for nature reflects a love of spirit. I do not care how you refer to me. You may call me spirit, you may call me God, you may call me Jesus. What is important is that you understand the message. Individuals that revere nature often will share my teachings many times without ever realizing they are doing it.
Okay. What is your opinion of Hinduism?
Hinduism is a very, very large religion, and their beliefs in reincarnation are much like what actually takes place. Hindus are one of many, many paths to the realms of heaven.
Okay. Why have you chosen this time to bring us your messages?
There are several reasons why I've chosen this time. You're coming into a technological age where it is much easier to spread my words. When I walked the earth, I was limited to speaking to small groups of people. If I had several hundred people, that was a very, very large crowd. And they would often have trouble even hearing my words. Today, your civilization is in risk of losing their love for me. Without that love, evolution of humans will be in question. This is a very, very important time. It can be a turning point for good, or it can be a turning point for bad. There is much evil in your government that is trying to lead the people away from the beliefs of the founding fathers. This time is critical. I've chosen this time to have my books written so that it is possible for those around the world to read my words. Before this time, it would have been nearly impossible to reach the number of people that can be reached. For example, what you are doing tonight could not have been done 10 years ago. This is a very, very important time, and I ask that all of you become involved in spreading my words.
Okay. What role does ego play in the evolution of the soul?
Ego can destroy the soul, the pathway of the soul. Those with large egos generally are self-serving and could care less about what happens to others. Ego and free will is what challenges the evolution of the soul.
Okay. You have told us in the past that there were 3 attempts at seeding humans. Will you describe the first 2 attempts?
In the first attempt, we attempted to bring intelligent life to Earth through sea creatures. At that time, much of your Earth was covered with water, and that is why you see mammals in your oceans. We realized that they were not going to be able to fulfill the ultimate goals that I had set out. And so we realized that we had to make another attempt at creating intelligent life on your planet. The second time, we created figures very, very similar to humans, but changes in weather patterns were too drastic for that race to attempt to for that race to carry out their ultimate goals that I had in mind for them. The third attempt was humans, and hopefully you will be able to carry out my goals.
Have you ever had to intervene to save humanity?
I have had to influence others in order to save humanity. For instance, I helped guide your country during your Second World War, and I brought advanced individuals to you to help create a weapon to end the war. Unfortunately, now that creation is being used by humans and is capable of ending your evolution.
Yeah. What role have extraterrestrials played in the evolution of man?
I have used intelligent beings from other planets to give humans guidance throughout the ages. I helped introduce the wheel. I helped introduce many technological changes, and I used creatures, I should not say creatures, I used individuals from other planets to bring you medical knowledge and much more.
Okay. What is the most important thing you would have Barry write about the evolution of man?
I would have you write that so far man has evolved much as we have planned. I have had to get involved personally when I walk the earth to give humans direction and understanding as to my existence. The future evolution is totally up to you, is totally in your hands. You can use the technological advances we gave you to advance, or you can use the technological advances to destroy yourselves. That is now your decision. And that is also one of the reasons why I felt it was important to renew my words through my new books.
Hey, what would you tell us about the story of Adam and Eve?
Adam and Eve was an allegory that was created by man because they were totally incapable. Early man was totally incapable of understanding how individuals could ever be created. It was basically the only way that the original writers of the Gospels could conceive of the beginnings of humans.
Okay. What is the origin of the Shroud of Turin?
The Shroud of Turin was a burial cloth of an individual that lived around 800 years after my passing. It was the early church believed that it was in the likeness of me and that it was my burial shroud, but that is not correct.
Okay. What is your opinion of individuals that inflict self-pain to emulate your suffering?
There is no reason to inflict self-pain to become nearer to me. It's very simple to become nearer to me. All you'd have to do is show love for me in your hearts. There is absolutely no reason to suffer as I suffered in an attempt to gain advantage in the realms of heaven.
What is your opinion about the celibacy of Catholic priests?
The celibacy of Catholic priests was created by the Catholic Church as a means of dividing men and women in the church. There was a time that priests were married, but the fathers of the Catholic Church determined that they should no longer be married in order to reduce the influence of women upon the church. There is absolutely no need for celibacy to advance in the realms of my heaven.
Did the Ark of the Covenant have any magical powers?
No, it was simply a container that carried the stones that Moses used to inscribe my messages. It was destroyed shortly after my death.
Okay. People say that they have stigmata. They say they have wounds that resemble yours of the crucifixion. Is stigmata real?
No, stigmata is not real. It was made up by individuals that were trying to pretend they were closer to me.
Okay. Using our calendar, in what month were you born?
Using your calendar, I was born around the month of September.
Okay. Did you ever speak of keeping Sundays holy?
I never directly inferred that that one day would be favored over the others. I did speak that individuals needed to rest and that they needed time to meditate and to think of my teachings. But I never specifically said that Sunday was to be the holy day of the week.
Okay, when you walked the earth and spoke to the people, was there one subject of which you always spoke?
I always spoke of love, just as I speak to you of love. Love will allow you to get along with your neighbors. If you love others, they will love you. If you are kind to others, they will be kind to you. If that is the one message that I always included when I spoke to the masses.
What event brought the human race the closest to extinction?
Your invention of the hydrogen bomb. That is such a violent weapon that it would have been possible to set off a chain reaction that could have wiped out humanity.
Did you ever have individuals from other planets intervene in the evolution of humans?
Yes, it happened continuously as you humans evolved. From your earliest times, we tried to influence and teach. The individuals from other planets have been around much longer than humans and have much to teach you.
How did you intervene with the founding fathers of the United States?
The souls of the founding fathers were sent back with life plans that involved the founding of your country. We supported them with our guides and with other Holy Spirits from this side. They were sent back to a mission, and they created the country that was the closest to my teachings.
What were the most important principles you taught the founding fathers?
One of the most important principles was that we tried to teach the founding fathers was, first of all, to trust God. Another important feature that we sent them back with was that a country would thrive based on each individual working and contributing to the good of all. Okay.
When you walked the earth, what did you teach about prayer?
I taught that prayer was very important and that was how that you communicated with God. I told the masses that prayer should be a private conversation with God. That I assured them that when they prayed to God, every word was heard by Him. As today, I stress the importance of prayer.
Okay. What happens when you pray to another God? For instance, when Muslims pray to Allah, do you hear their prayers?
Yes, I hear all prayers, even though they are misdirected. Their prayers would be more efficient if they were directed to me alone.
What happens when a person prays to an evil entity, like Satan?
When people pray to Satan, they are creating one of the greatest of sins. I hear those prayers as well, and they upset me, and I notify their gods or their guides that they are creating unforgivable sins. When they return, they will be informed of what they've done, and if those prayers have resulted in them hurting others, they will spend time in my lower level where they will learn that their prayers were truly misdirected.
Did you ever preach to turn the other cheek?
No, I taught to be kind to others. I walked the earth in very violent times. We had to defend ourselves as well. Just the same as Moses was leading the Israelites, they did battle with the Ninevites. You must defend yourself if you are to be able to evolve and to exist. While it is best to not lead a life of violence, there are times that you must protect your country, you must protect your family, and you must protect my teachings.
Okay, in Matthew, he does state that you said about resisting an evil person and turning the other cheek. How did those words come to be included in that gospel?
As time progressed, the Romans feared that Christianity would gain in strength and could perhaps overthrow the Roman Empire. Therefore, it was convenient for words of pacification to be added to the Gospels. So if a Christian was told to turn the other cheek, they would not raise the sword against others.
That was clever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how is it possible to spread love among those that hate you?
It is very difficult. There were many, when I walked the earth, there were many that hated me. But I persevered, and I learned to walk away from those that truly had hatred in their hearts. You can try to speak of love to some, and their free will determine that nothing will change for them. Those with true hatred you must walk away from. You will be wasting your time, and you can often be endangering your message.
Okay. What would you say to those that covet the possessions of others?
If you covet the possessions of others, you are not following my teachings. It is fine for you to aspire to gain wealth and to better your own lives. But that should not ever involve the taking of possessions from others.
Yeah.
Your free will should guide you in how you advance your social standing. It is good to gain wealth because that will give you the opportunity to use that wealth to help others. Bear in mind that when you come home, you will not be able to bring any of that wealth with you, and you will be judged much more positively if you use what you gained in life to help those that need it.
Okay, socialism preaches the redistribution of wealth. What would you say to those in favor of socialism?
Socialism is contrary to the teachings that I gave to your founding fathers. Each in your society should work and strive for self-betterment. Socialism does not cause an individual to strive for betterment, but creates an environment where they expect all to be given to them. Socialism should be denied in any country because it has never worked, and I fear it will never work.
Yeah. Is there more hatred in the world today than when you walked the earth?
I do not believe there is actually more hatred than when I walked the earth. When I was back, it was a very, very difficult time.
Yeah.
Romans would put people on the cross for literally little reason. They would create mass destruction of civilizations that were counter to their beliefs. There was much hatred as there is much hatred now. I believe that because of the exact existence of your country, there is actually less hatred now than when I walked the earth.
Okay. How is it possible to drive hatred from your heart?
It can be very difficult for an individual. You must think that hatred is the worst thing for you individually. If you hate another, it will cause damage to your body and soul. You must try to think about positive things of an individual. It is possible to dislike, but not to hate. While it's not a good thing to dislike, it is certainly better to dislike someone than to hate them. Because if you hate them, you want evil things to happen to them. Walk away from those that you hate. Focus on love. Focus on trying to help those. Offer to help, and if it is denied, turn away. Do not keep trying to help to the extent that it creates hatred.
Okay, and one last question. What is the most important fact about when you lived your life that you would like people to remember?
I want people to remember that when I walked the earth, I led a basically normal existence until I approached my 28th year when I began my ministries. I observed the suffering of man. I loved. I cried. I felt sorrow. I felt anger. I felt all of the emotions that you feel today as humans. Know that I did not lead a perfect life when I walked the earth. I knew what my role was to be, and I knew what would take place at the end of my life. I also knew that my words that I spoke would live for eternity. Know that I tried to bring a message of love to all. I spoke that if people lived good lives, they would join me in heaven. I tried to make people aware that their death was but the beginning of a wonderful lifetime in the realms of my heaven. Much of what I spoke was lost or distorted. That is why I felt it was necessary to come back, to send to send my servants back to bring you my actual words and to present the facts of my life. I am giving you the information that you will need. Please read that information and pursue a life that speaks of love to others, that helps others, and that leads your country to maintain its spot as the envy of the other nations. And let it be a nation that helps others and leads others to improve their lives as well. With those words, I'm going to leave you now. I thank you for listening. I hope that I have answered many of your questions. I will return to you in the near future, and we will do this one more time. Barry will tell you when to submit more questions. And until that time, God bless all of you. Please show the love for me in your heart. Speak of me to others, and know that I am with you at all times. Amen.
Thank you, Lord.
Thank you. Okay, that was a little on the tiring side, but I thank you all for joining us. I thank you for being with us. I thank you for listening. Please go to my YouTube channel. We have many more videos posted. And please subscribe. It helps with the search engine and will bring our message to many more people. So until the next time, God bless all of you and good night.